But I'm thankful for this opportunity to share this part of my life as a comedian. And instead of just doing a stand-up set, what I want to do is just share really quickly my journey into comedy in the shortest way possible, because wherever we're at in life, if you look back, you can usually find a trail of breadcrumbs that got you to where you're at. Whether you're a comedian, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a father, whether, everyone has a story. And so I do have a story about how I came to be a comedian. And when I look back in my life, I see all the breadcrumbs, or that trail of breadcrumbs that got me here. I stand here in this space where I write a lot of my comedy, where I'm inspired by my favorite comedians. These are the giants' shoulders that I stand on: Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, all these guys up here. Tracy Tracy Morgan. I'm a big fan of Tracy. We've hung out. This dude, what you see on stage is really, you can get that on any day. Like, I love him because he just says whatever he wants to say. We're having dinner one time. He's like, "You ever give a girl a Fruit Loop necklace for her birthday? They like that." And I'm like, "Where is this dude coming?" He's like, "I want to be the first African American to suck a Jello pudding pop through a crazy straw." I'm like, "Where are you coming with this stuff, bro?" But so these are the giants whose shoulders I stand on. And I remember when I think back, I started my comedy career, now that I think about it, I was like 8 or 9 years old. We used to have the Bill Cosby himself cassette tape. If you remember that show that he did, the Bill Cosby himself show. And I had that thing memorized. I listened to it all the time. And then my mom and dad, when we would have company, they would make me perform some of his routines in front of their company, right? So I was telling the dentist the joke about being at the dentist and giving the kids chocolate cake for breakfast. I was telling them jokes, and I'm doing those routines from the time I was like 8 years old, right? And then when I was in the 6th grade, but I hadn't seen stand-up comedy. I heard it because it was a cassette tape, but I'd never seen it before. When I was in 6th grade is when Raw came out at the movie theaters. Eddie Murphy's Raw came out in the movie theaters. I saw the trailer on the TV, the commercial for it on TV, and I wanted to go see it because everything they show on the commercial on TV is all the clean stuff, right? They got to edit it for TV. So I'm seeing him do these jokes. I'm like, "Oh, this is great," but it was rated R. And so I was like, how am I going to get into a rated R movie? I'm in 6th grade, right? One of my best friends, he was Cambodian, and his dad didn't speak any English. So we tricked his dad into buying us tickets to go see Raw at the movie theater, at Westland Movie Theater on the Hilltop. And these two 12-year-old boys sitting in there watching Raw and having our whole brains blown out. And when I saw that, and when I saw him on stage in that purple jumpsuit, I said, "That's where I want to be." Right? And I said, "I want that." And that's where my comedy career, like that seed was planted. And so started writing jokes. By the end of my 8th grade year, I was voted class clown at Monroe. And then when I was 19, I had a chance to travel abroad to Italy, and we were at a U.S. Army base doing a youth conference, and there was some downtime, and they had to fill this 15 minutes or 15, 20 minutes, and the leader of the conference, who had brought me over there, we had been talking about comedy all week long. He said, "Javier, go up there and do some stand-up." I ain't never done stand-up in my life. He's like, "Come on, man, just do it." I'm like, "All right." And so I went up there, and at that time, Sinbad was hot. I did Sinbad's whole routine. I stole his whole routine. It was from one of his shows, because I ain't have no jokes. So I just did all Sinbad's jokes. But saw the reaction that I got from an audience as if they were my jokes. And so then from there, started writing jokes when I got back to the States. And then the first chance I had to get on a stage and do an open mic as comedy really started exploding, the Funny Bone and everything, and never really looked back. And what I know as a comedian is this, this is some neuroscience, is that where your brain fires, it hardwires. Where your brain fires, it hardwires. So as comedians, our brains are wired to find the funny. So in every situation we find ourselves in, we have programmed our brains to find the funny, right? Even during these challenging times, we just can't shut it off. Like, our brains are wired for that, right? Like, I'm at the protest yesterday, earlier in the daytime. I'd been there from like 11 to 4 and had to get my daughter home. That's why I wasn't there last night. But I'm at the protest on the State House, State House lawn. And, I'm there for all the right reasons. And, people are doing the call and response chants, the no justice, no peace, no racist police, we're doing that. And of course, my brain goes to, who dares me to go OH, right? You know what I'm saying? Because we're wired for that. You know what I'm saying? It's just I can't shut it off, right? And I promise you, when the shit hit the fan last week, and we saw this tragedy that occurred in Minneapolis, I promise you, all your favorite comedians, the first thing they thought of in the midst of that tragedy, what was the jokes. And just because that's how our brains work. Now, not that we're going to tell any of those jokes, not that we're going to, it's, way too, even my brain went there, but I had to circle back around. That's how our brains are wired. But that's really how all our brains are wired. Our brains are wired to find what we're looking for. Here's my point. If you are always looking for something to complain about or be miserable about, guess what? You're going to find those things, and you actually can program and train your brain to find those things. I fell victim to that because I toured the world, and there was a window of time when I was traveling a whole lot. This was years ago. I got real good at being that dude that would find something wrong with the hotel, with the restaurant, with the rental-car service, with the airline, with anything, because I'm real wicked with my pen. I will find something wrong, then I'll go write a nasty letter to corporate so I can get some free rentals, some free nights at the hotel, a free flight, whatever. I was doing that, right? And so I literally trained my brain to go into all these situations looking for something to be wrong. And you find what you're looking for. So if you go into every situation looking for something to be wrong, you're going to find those things. But then I realized how corrosive and corruptive that was to my spirit. And it was really bringing me down and really making me a miserable purpose. Yeah, I'm getting free flights and free, rental car, whatever, but I'm miserable in the process because I had literally trained my brain to find something wrong in every situation I found myself in. And so how did I change that? How did I flip that around? Because I became aware of how toxic that was and how infectious that was. And how is it relevant to our lives, especially for such a time as this? Yeah, we have to be conscious and aware of what's going on in the world and how it affects us. What we do not want is for it to infect us. And there's a big difference between affecting and infecting. And if we're not careful, if we're scrolling through social media all day and looking at the news all day, what's affecting us ends up infecting us. And that does no one any good. We need to be at our best physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally right now. And so what I do and have been doing consistently for the last 5 years is making a gratitude list. Every day when I wake up, I write down a gratitude list, 3, 4, or 5 things, and I write it on paper because that brings it to life and makes it permanent. But I write down 3, 4, or 5 things that I'm thankful for. And so now I've rewired my brain to find things to be thankful for, and you find what you're looking for.